it's actually something that has so much deeper meaning. A song that addresses Krishna in his most intimate ways in Vrindavan, in the different forms that he interacts with his closest associates. So let's try to meditate on Krishna and on the different ways how we can serve him here together, and make this singing also, the performance of kirtan, also an act of service that we do together. It's not just me singing for Krishna and someone else next to me singing for Krishna. Let's sing together for Krishna. a little request to all of you. If you could all just come a little closer. There's so much space up front. And I know I might look a little fearsome with my long hair and the beard. Not very pretty to look at, but you will see Lord Jagannath when you come closer. It's just nice when we talk about, when we discuss about and talk about spiritual topics, that we come a little closer together and don't hide behind some distance. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, Chapter 3, Karma Yoga, text number 33. I will read the Sanskrit ones and then we go to the word for word. Sadrisham chestate svasya prakrite jnanavannapi prakriting yanti bhutani nigraha king rishyati. Please repeat. Sadrisham accordingly. Chestate tries. Swasyaha by his own. Prakritihi modes of nature. Jnanavan learned. Api although. Prakritim nature. Yanti undergo. Bhutani all living entities. Nigraha repression. Kim what? Karishyati can do. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? Purport. Unless one is situated on the transcendental platform of Kṛṣṇa consciousness, he cannot get free from the influence of the modes of material nature, as it is confirmed by the Lord in the 7th chapter, 7.14. Therefore, even for the most highly educated person on the mundane plane, it is impossible to get out of the entanglement of Maya simply by theoretical knowledge or by separating the soul from the body. There are many so-called spiritualists who outwardly pose as advanced in the science, but inwardly or privately are completely under particular modes of nature which they are unable to surpass. I repeat that sentence because maybe some of you identify with it, I certainly do. There are many so-called spiritualists who outwardly pose as advanced in the science, but inwardly or privately are completely under particular modes of nature which they are unable to surpass. Academically, one may be very learned, but because of his long association with material nature, he is in bondage. Kṛṣṇa consciousness helps one to get out of the material entanglement, even though one may be engaged in his prescribed duties in terms of material existence. Therefore, without being fully in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, one should not give up his occupational duties. No one should suddenly give up his prescribed duties and become a so-called yogi or transcendentalist artificially. It is better to be situated in one's position and to try to attain Kṛṣṇa consciousness under superior training. Thus, one may be freed from the clutches of Krishna's Maya. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Vishnu Mancha kalpataripascha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The verse was, even a man of knowledge acts, also a woman, acts according to his own or her own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? The class today was announced, or the topic for the class today was announced as how to spiritualize your material nature. And I find this a very, very important and deep topic. My wife, Raja Kishori, she is studying psychology, Vedic psychology, and they were just discussing this topic in their study program, and we were talking about this a lot, and it really made me think, because we often begin with a misconception, and that misconception actually is something that Kṛṣṇa talks about in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and that is that our material nature and our spiritual nature are separate from each other, and that with that misconception in mind, as devotees, we try to leave one behind and adopt another, or act according to another. But that's very difficult, and I found this one expression by Prabhupada in this purport very, very, really interesting, and it's something you don't read that very often, or at least he's not expressing it in this way. He said that somebody is impossible to get out of Maya by separating the soul from the body. But that's so often what we think we should be doing, right? We are talking so much about that we are not the body. We are a spirit soul, a spiritual being. And therefore we think, well, one is useless. I don't need it. I have it, fine, or whatever, but I don't really, I shouldn't care much about it. In reality, I do care a lot about it, but I know I shouldn't. But I'm not this, I'm something else. But by trying to separate the two, what it is, what we're doing is we are artificially uprooting our existence from the immediate reality that we are in. So we lose our footing here in this world a little bit. But then, at the same time, we can't artificially act as a pure devotee just on the on the plane of pure spiritual understanding, of pure bhakti. So we don't have this yet, and we try to not have that, so we are really in between. And we feel like we don't belong anywhere. So this is a very frustrating state of existence. You don't feel like you belong to your material family, to your material country, to your occupation, to your children, to your wife, to your friends. All this is external, right? It's material. It has nothing to do with me. That's what you think. And you so desperately try to, Kṛṣṇa, 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 I love you, I love you, I love you. But then at the end of the day, do we really love him? When we are presented with difficulties or presented with opportunities of enjoyment? Usually we then easily, very easily, subconsciously even fall back into material habits. When life gets tough, what do? We often fall back into habits that we have cultivated for many, many lifetimes. They can be self-destructive, they can be illusory, it can be putting our head in the sand, so many different things. And when life is really good and everything goes really well, we usually think, wow, I deserve it. Let's enjoy more. Why can't this vacation be just 2 weeks long? I want 3 weeks. It was so nice. So, living in this way as spiritual practitioners ultimately will not lead us anywhere. In order to transform our material nature, we have to work with it. We have to deal with it. And we have to spiritualize it. And that's something I want to discuss a little bit about today. And I don't want to take any credit for what it is that I'm saying. I'm stealing very, how do you say this, without any, I'm missing the word, schamlos. What is the word in English? Shameless. I'm shamelessly stealing all these points from Govardhan Gopal Prabhu, a very wonderful and learned preacher that is residing in Russia and teaching online a lot. And he has put this together very nicely. So yeah, I hope I can follow his footsteps in presenting this to you. First of all, we have to understand that we have two natures. As I said, we have our spiritual nature. It's not that this is something that we invent. Oh, now I want to be a spiritual person, I want to practice some spirituality, so let me make up some version of whatever, I make up my own religion, I make up my own spirituality. No, we do have a spiritual nature, we do have a higher nature, a nature that we can come in contact with in so many different ways. Through meditation, through service, through the grace, through the mercy of Kṛṣṇa, by reflection, so many different ways let us access that higher nature that we have. We see reflections of this in this material world. Prabhupada says the strongest reflection we see of the pure spiritual nature of beings, which is love, we can see in a mother. The love that the mother has for a child comes closest to pure love. Because that is the essence of our spiritual nature, it is love. Everything has an essence, something that it is made up of. That's one translation of the word dharma, nature. It's what the essence is of something. And the essence of us, of our very core being, is ecstatic, unconditional love. Something that we all hanker for, because that's us, it's driving us. But we are stuck in a place where this is very difficult to find. Because this is now covered, or there's a layer on top of it, which is our material essence. And that's also an essence. One devotee once said, we always say we are not the body, but we are the body. Because this body is real. It's not an illusion. We don't subscribe to this school of thought that says that everything here is just illusion, it's just a dream. No, it's all very real. At least it's real to us and everybody around us, and we share this reality. It is real to all of us. And within this reality, we also have our nature, we also have our dharma, our essence, our core, and that is our desires, our beliefs, our talents, so many things that make us us. And that changes a little bit from lifetime to lifetime. This life, I'm in a male body, born in Germany, a big belly and a long beard. I don't know what I was in my next life, and I don't know what will be in my past life. But what I did in my past life had a strong and great influence on what I am here today. Because those parts that form our material nature, they're carried over from lifetime to lifetime. This is part of our karma. It informs and it shapes what is important to us in this life. Some things that I have dealt with in my previous life, some lessons I have learned, life lessons I have learned in my previous life, I don't have to deal with in this life anymore. I have done that. It's like this material world is like university. Once I pass a certain topic, done. I can move on to the next. This forms part of my character then. It's what gives me strength. Things that I do not pass, that I do not work on, that I turn away from, those will follow me from lifetime to lifetime, and usually they become more and more and more intense. Unfulfilled desires can follow us through many lifetimes until they become psychological problems if we don't address them in a way. So the good we do, and the bad we do, or the good we miss to do, we fail to do, they all influence our material nature. They influence who we are on the material side of things. But we are those things. I can't be somebody else. I can't be you. I'm me and you are you. We can't exchange that. As fascinating as that might be in some movies that Hollywood produces, where somebody switches body with another person, Yeah, but they switch the bodies, they're still them, in a different vehicle. They can't think and feel and want what the other person wants. So it just doesn't work. We are who we are. And as such, this is what we have been given. It is what we have been given by the material energy that is under the control of Kṛṣṇa. So we might argue that ultimately we have been given this life in this body with these talents and these shortcomings by Kṛṣṇa as a way to learn and to grow how to connect our talents, our strengths and our weaknesses to our spiritual nature, to become wholesome, to become a complete person. And that is the entire lesson of living in this world. And that is the beauty. Kṛṣṇa has created this material world with a purpose in mind. He has not created a prison where he sends all those spiritual souls who are not fully surrendered to him to punish them. No, he's created a university. He has created a learning facility where we can choose to educate ourselves in how to transcend the material and at the same time transform it into something, into our true spiritual nature. So this misconception is really what holds us back in spiritual life, thinking that, I'm a man, so I can't do this and that, or I only can do such things, or I'm a woman, that's why I should do those things and not do those things, or I'm always tired, I'm always sad, I'm always lustful, I'm always attached. So many things, I have so many desires, this and that. That's why I can't perform spiritual life. Or I should, give all this up. And what's the easiest way in trying to give something up? Kṛṣṇa says it here, repression. We just ignore it, we just put it under the carpet. No, this doesn't exist. This desire doesn't exist. No, I don't have that. And we come in front of Kṛṣṇa and we play like little children that we are somebody who we are not. We pretend. And Kṛṣṇa, what can he do? He sees right through this. And he keeps smiling. He's still happy we're here, but he also thinks, come on, be real. Why are you pretending? That's why I was saying that when we chant for Kṛṣṇa, bring what's in the heart to that chanting. Let's be real with Kṛṣṇa. He already sees what's in our heart. Kṛṣṇa knows what kind of struggles we go through, and he's not turning away from us. He's more turning towards us because of it. But we are holding back. We are not ourselves. We are not true with Kṛṣṇa. We are not real. We are not combining our material side with our spiritual side. We do have the spiritual desire to approach Kṛṣṇa, to chant for Kṛṣṇa, to be around devotees. This is all an expression of our spiritual nature. But still, we come here with our material nature. With all the things that trouble us, with all the things we want, all the things we desire, all the distractions that we like to enjoy. We bring them all here with us. Okay, no problem. It's not a problem. It's really not a problem. We don't have to pretend to be saints in order to be here. We can be us. We should try to be the best version of who we are. But we can be us. And offer these things to Kṛṣṇa. See, how can I do what I like to do? What I'm able to do? How can I do that for the pleasure of Kṛṣṇa and the devotees? And that's really the secret to all of this. And Prabhupada was saying this again and again and again. And devotees didn't really understand what he meant by that for a long time. He said it in a very peculiar way. He said, dovetail everything with Kṛṣṇa. It's a Victorian expression, if I'm not mistaken, to dovetail something, to connect something to it, to make it one. So this is what you want to do. You want to serve Krishna, but you have your talents and your shortcomings. You just take them and you attach them together. That's why he always encouraged those who like to paint or cook or work with their hands or whatever it is they were doing, to do that with the mentality of doing that for Krishna. And Krishna is explaining how to do this in great detail. He's spending quite a lot of time in the 3rd chapter, in the 5th chapter, in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and again even in the 18th chapter. He's coming back to that. He said, he's explaining it again and again. Do what you do, be who you are, but do that for me. Whatever you eat, whatever you look at, whatever flower you want to smell, offer that to me. He doesn't say fast, but close your eyes, put on some earmuffs so you don't hear the world around you anymore. No, be in the world. But take what you see and what you have and what ultimately what you want to enjoy, and first offer that to me. And in that way, it will lose its material quality and it will be enriched by a spiritual quality, because your intention, your motivation now turns away from selfish enjoyment to a greater good. The enjoyment of Krishna, the service of the community, and so many other things. So, we all know different ways how we can connect what it is that we are doing with Krishna. And there are a few key ways that are prescribed, and maybe some of you know. Do you have any idea what are the most easy and the most common ways for us as spiritual practitioners to connect our material nature, to connect who we are to our spiritual side? How can we do that? Who has an idea? We do that every day. You anyway do that every day. Chanting, yes. Chanting the holy name.
Cooking for the Lord.
Cooking, yes. Yes, Prabhu. To eat prasadam, yes, very good. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We all like to eat. Nobody eats because we have to eat. Let's be honest, we all like to eat, right? So,
Deity worship.
Deity worship, yes, thank you.
Singing the devotees.
Yes, singing kirtan, yes.
Hearing kirtans.
Yes, singing and chanting and hearing, yes.
Association with the
Yes, association with the devotees. Vaishnava Seva, thank you. Yes, one of the most important things, because what does association with devotees mean? Just to sit next to somebody? No. You can sit next to a saint on the bus. If you don't hear what he has to say, he gets off the bus, and what's your benefit of that association? Yes, there might be some subtle purification going on your energetic body, but I heard once, why are the holy places that we are recommended to visit, why are they so powerful? Why should we visit holy places? Who has an idea? Yes, please.
Because pure devotees visit those places, and therefore we should go there and hear from them.
Yes, because there's a chance that especially in these places we hear from devotees who are also visiting. If we go to Kreuzberg, Maybach-Ufer, market time to buy some vegetables, the chances to meet a saintly person are slim in Berlin. They are not impossible, but if we come to a holy place like the temple of Lord Jagannath or some other tirtha where devotees meet, like last week in Kṛṣṇa, the chances are much more great, much greater. And then we should ask questions. That's why we should visit holy places, to associate with devotees, meaning to serve them, Vaishnava Seva, and to hear from them. Any other ideas how we can spiritualize practically the things that we do anyways?
Reading.
Excuse me?
Reading.
Reading, yes. Thank you, very good.
Meditation.
Meditation, yes. Reflection.
Preaching.
Preaching. Talking about Krishna, yes. Maybe prayer also. It's part of meditation and reflection. communicating with Krishna. And I would like to add one. This is all correct. There are no wrong answers here, and I'm sure the list can be expanded quite a lot. I would like to add one more thing because that is something that is very important, and that is to serve the community. And with community, I mean not just our immediate community, but serve our family, serve the people around us. Be kind, spread love, spread kindness. Don't be sectarian and think only particular people deserve that kindness and love. No, but develop a broader vision. Develop the vision of a saintly person who sees Krishna in everybody's heart. So everybody deserves our kindness, our love, our compassion, our attention, our help, ultimately our service. That is one way of preaching also. We can tell so many things, but showing by our example usually is much more powerful than there's a saying, I can't hear what you're saying because what you're doing is screaming so loud in my face. Helping somebody, being grateful for receiving help, accepting help also. And those can be very small things. Small exchanges of kindness, being a positive influence in this world. Very small things, like yesterday, I went to IKEA to buy some moving boxes. And I had them stacked on my shopping cart, and I was waiting for the elevator, and they were all sliding down my shopping cart. And I was struggling to hold the cart and hold the boxes, and some lady, she came and said, "Oh, let me help you." And I was truly grateful, and I said, "This is very kind of you, thank you so much. I wish you a lovely day." I didn't tell her anything about Krishna, she didn't know who I was. It is not preaching, it is not bhakti on a high level, but it's just being a positive influence in the world. She did this for me, I did this to her. It can be even just as simple as that. Because what do we do by these kind of exchanges? We are opening people's hearts and minds for something more. Maybe next time I see the same person, and because we had that nice exchange, she sees me coming out of the temple and she asks me, "Oh, what are you doing here?" If I would have been rude to her, she would see me and think, "Oh, that jerk. No. God, I hope he falls down the stairs." So, in that way, we can utilize what Krishna has given to us and not be selfish and greedy and keep those things for ourselves, but actually spread some positivity with it and connect this to Krishna in that way. Because all the talents that we have, where do we have them from? What do you think? Krishna. He says in Gita, "I am the talent in man and woman, in living beings." Our talents come from Him. They're His gifts to us, so that in this life we can do something beautiful for Him and for others. If we do this just for our own enjoyment, for our own pleasure, we're not using it in the right way. And in that way it does not help us advance spiritually, because we're not connecting it with our source, and therefore we're not connecting it to our spiritual side, to our spiritual nature. And yes, we might get some satisfaction out of it, but that's a very shallow satisfaction. It's a very temporary satisfaction. But when we do what we are good at doing, and we are grateful for what we are good at, and spend time practicing, developing those talents, developing those skills, in the mood of service, and then use those things for Krishna, for the pleasure of the devotees, and for the greater good of the people around us, then we can really do something wonderful. There is this one story in the Bhagavatam, first canto of Bhagavatam, that it's one of my favorite pastimes, because it's just so deep. When Yudhishthira Maharaj became the king of the world, he performed a sacrifice that was supposed to crown him as the emperor, as the king of the entire globe, of the entire earth. And Krishna was invited as a guest of honor. So when Krishna came, he looked at the arena. They had built a stadium much greater than Olympic Stadium in Berlin, to host all the saints and the brahmanas, the priests, the Kshatriyas, the working class, the women, the children, all of them were assembled there to witness this momentous occasion. So Krishna looked at all of this and he saw a few priests sitting in the center of the whole arrangement, preparing for a sacrifice. And Krishna asks Arjuna, why have you chosen exactly these priests to perform the sacrifice? What's their qualification? And Yudhishthira then says something really, really amazing. He says, because they are expert in performing the rituals, they know exactly what it is that they're doing, and they have pure love for you. And Prabhupada comments on this, that if those two things come together, material expertise, knowing what it is you're doing, and doing that with love in your heart, with the right intention, with the right motivation, magic can happen. Something extraordinary can take place. And I think we all know that. If somebody knows how to sing really, really beautifully and he practices every day and learns the scales and the instruments, but he has no love for Krishna at all, yes, it might sound nice, but it's not really touching, it's not really moving on a spiritual dimension. And even if that person sings the holy names, when there is no love for Krishna in the heart, Indra Prabhu called this kind of kirtan noise. He said, we're just making noise. It's the same thing, just making noise. On the other hand, if somebody has great love for Krishna, but has zero talent and doesn't know how to sing a single note, a very select audience can appreciate that kind of kirtan. Other people with pure hearts who can perceive that dedication, that love in the heart. But somebody else on the street will think, this sounds strange. I can't listen to this. It's so not pleasing to the ear. So, but now if somebody is there, and we all have been to kirtans where there are devotees who have both qualities. They know what they're doing, they know how to do it, and they do it for Krishna. Everybody just gets drawn into this. And kirtan is such a nice example for this. Cooking is another good example of this. Somebody might be a great cook, and he might cook really, really well, but if he's not cooking with love for Krishna in his heart, it tastes good, but it doesn't do the prasadam magic, right? When we eat prasadam, we feel like, this was something different. And when somebody cooks with love for Krishna in his heart, but he exchanges salt and sugar, yes, joy, but just a little bit, just on the top of my head maybe, to offer my respect, but thank you. But when both things come together, we can't get enough, and we feel like we are flying out of the temple. So this is what happens when we spiritualize our material nature, by doing what we are doing for Krishna. And it is really all about our intention, all about our motivation that makes the difference here. And in the end, all that it comes to is to have this understanding that have this intention, Krishna, I would like to serve you. I would like to serve you, devotees. I would like to serve the people around me, the world around me. I want to be your servant. Or if we are a little bit more self-realized, you might think, please let me be the servant of your servant of your servant. But in the beginning, it's fine to just think, I want to be your servant. This deeper understanding comes later. And once we say this to Krishna honestly and earnestly, we come in front of Lord Jagannath and we say, really with full conviction, we really mean to say it, and we come and say, Krishna, please let me serve you. At that moment, our life will be not the same anymore. It will be completely transformed. Because Krishna will reciprocate. He will give us opportunities for service. Or to put it differently, our heart will become open to perceive the opportunities for service that were there all along, but which we were unable to see before, because we were so consumed by our own selfish desires. Krishna starts interacting with us more actively, not passively. In Bhagavad Gita we hear that there's the soul and there's the super soul, and the super soul is just witnessing, just looking, okay, now this desire comes up, karmic balance, yeah, kind of fits, okay, can do. Gives permission, happens. But once we say those magic words, Kṛṣṇa, I want to be your servant. Yeah, Kṛṣṇa does not just witness anymore. Satchidananda Swami once put it in very dramatic words. He said, once we turn to Kṛṣṇa and honestly ask him to be a servant, the super soul disappears from the heart, and Kṛṣṇa, Shyam Sundar Kṛṣṇa, takes its place. It's the same. Of course we know it's the same. It's a different quality that we experience Kṛṣṇa within our life. Kṛṣṇa then starts to interfere actively in our life, to present us with more opportunities for service and more opportunities for learning and growing how to be ourselves in Kṛṣṇa's service. And we might think, well, this sounds all nice, but it's also a little bit wishy-washy, so what should I do? Should I just, today I don't feel like doing anything, so that's fine, I don't do anything. No, we should still perform our duties. It's another important theme that Kṛṣṇa follows here, also in the 3rd chapter, that just 2 verses further from the one I read today, says that it's far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily or not perfectly, than another's duties perfectly. So we do all have our duties, and we also have duties as a devotee, as somebody who wants to practice spiritual life. There are some duties connected to that. And that's important, because if we would not have any duties, we would be like a leaf in the wind. Today I feel like this, tomorrow I feel like that, and we would have no clear path through life. But by accepting the duties that come with serving Kṛṣṇa, and those are all the things you have mentioned already, chanting the holy name, reading the holy scripture, associating with the devotees, serving the devotees, and many other things. By doing these things, it gives us stability in life, and it gives us something to do even though we might not feel like it today. Just hold on to this, do it anyway. And eventually try to, again, bring your feeling into it, bring yourself into it, do it with your heart. But if you don't do it at all, you don't get a chance to put your heart into it, because your mind will just take you to all kinds of places. And how that might look like practically when we just do our duty and then suddenly this change in mentality takes place. We can all read this and witness this in the life of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He has written a beautiful book called Sharanagati, which is a collection of prayers. And I've said this before, it really shows us what it can look like to be who we are and be who we are for Kṛṣṇa. Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in this collection of prayers, he starts out with just revealing how he feels. Kṛṣṇa, I'm completely materialistic. I just worry about my children and about my work. I have no desire to serve you. My mind is all over the place. My heart is completely closed off. But I'm here anyway. I'm here anyway. Then he keeps saying, because I'm here, now it is your duty to give me shelter. So he's turning it around. Kṛṣṇa, I showed up, even though I didn't want to. I showed up anyway. And since I'm here now, please help me. Because that is Kṛṣṇa's promise, right? I'm protecting my devotees. So I might not feel like a devotee, I might not act like a devotee, but somehow or other I'm here anyway. So please Kṛṣṇa, treat me as if I'm a devotee and help me. And Kṛṣṇa will do so. And then he continues, to then, he opens his heart. He says, "Oh Krishna, I have this desire and that desire, and I would like you to clean my heart, to purify my heart." And then he continues, to become a little bit more alive, become a little bit more enthusiastic. And the next section of prayers is glorification of Krishna. "Oh, you are so wonderful. You do so many wonderful leelas. You interact so beautifully with your devotees. And you even, show yourself to me, expressing gratitude." And then gradually he becomes more and more and more ecstatic, because his heart suddenly gets changed. First, he put his heart into it, he revealed himself, he was honest with Krishna, he accepted Krishna's kindness, and then some transformation took place. And then he is like fully there. And this arc is something that we can experience for ourselves as well, by just showing up and not stopping there, but trying to be present, be real, be who we are, do what we can do, and try to do that for Krishna, and then see what happens. Be attentive, listen, see how the devotees start to behave towards you. Take that and use that as fuel, as motivation, as something that inspires you to go a little deeper. See how you can use your talents even further for Krishna. Be grateful. Gratitude is a precursor for love. Be grateful. Thank you, Krishna, for giving me the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for allowing me to come here, despite of all the things I do when I'm not here, for never closing the door for me. Krishna always has an open door for us. So many things to be grateful for. And have that kind of mentality and keep serving, keep acting for Krishna. Keep performing Vaishnava Seva. Exchange love, meaning give some love and also accept some love. Another misconception we have as devotees: I should never accept a thank you. I should never accept a praise, because that's just feeding my false ego. It's actually Maya telling us this, so we never are able to fully connect to the devotee next to us. That's Maya stopping us from connecting to the devotees around us. Maya wants us to stay stuck in just watching Netflix all day and working paycheck to paycheck so we can buy more useless stuff. That's what Maya is trying to do to us. And Maya is also trying to tell us, or is putting this voice in our head that keeps telling us, you're not good enough. You don't deserve it. You don't belong here. That's all Maya. Krishna is telling us the complete opposite. But if we listen to Maya, we can't hear Krishna. Krishna is saying, please come. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm here for you. Lord Jagannath is the manifestation of this mentality. He's standing here with his arms open, big smile, big eyes, looking at you right now, happy that you're here, saying, please come, I'm here for you. This is what Lord Jagannath is, the manifestation of this kind of mood, this ecstatic happiness of seeing the devotees. But we are so consumed by our own material contamination that we think, I don't go to the temple today. The devotees will see me and they will all see right through me and say, I'm not qualified to be here. How can I do service? I'm too contaminated, too full. I've been watching TV the last week. How can I come today and watch the Kṛṣṇa? This is Maya. And when we do make up our minds and actually show up and try to connect, we see, oh my God, what have I been missing? Why haven't I come earlier? Why am I not doing this all the time? And now, with hopefully thinking a little bit what we were discussing today, we should then not fall back into our old misconception and think, let me not go back into this world. No, let's go back into the world and use whatever Krishna is giving us for his service, for his pleasure, for the pleasure of the devotees. Let's work towards leaving behind this dichotomy of thinking either this or that. No, it's synthesis. Everything in this world comes down to synthesis. We have to bring things together. That's the whole purpose of this material world. To teach us how to be with Krishna. How would that work if we have to be in this world and leave it behind at the same time to be with Krishna? It doesn't work. We have to live, we have to be here, we have to sleep, we have to eat. In order to have shelter and have food, we do have to work, we do have to maintain the body. So if all this would be the path to forget Krishna, and there would be no way in using those activities to remember Krishna, then Krishna would be damn cruel. Then this would be a prison. Then this would be eternal punishment. This would be hell. Krishna has not sent us to hell. Krishna has sent us to school. So when we go back home today, we can look around in our apartment, we can look at our family and friends, and we can think, how can I use this to please Krishna? How can I use this to advance in spiritual life? How can I offer this to Krishna a little more? And there is no limit to our creativity in this. A friend of ours, what he did once I found very cute and beautiful. He took a key of his apartment and he put that in a little box on the altar at home. He said, Krishna, this is your apartment and I'm just the caretaker and you should have a key. It's an expression of exactly this mood. This is not mine, this is yours. I'm here, I'm taking care of it, I'm enjoying the benefits of it. Prabhupada gives this example, the servant of the king also lives in the palace. Doesn't have to live on the street. So we can have nice things, but let's have nice things for Krishna. And in this way, we can try to spiritualize our material nature and create a bit more of a synthesis and be a bit more real for Krishna. Thank you. Do you maybe have some questions, comments, doubts? Yes, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for the very wonderful and relatable and also deep lecture. I'm a guest here, so I don't know.
Welcome.
I don't know the temple so much. I wanted to ask sort of a personal question. When I came to Krishna consciousness, I had already a very clear career plan. I was in university, and my idea was to connect this plan with Krishna by doing my career in service of Krishna. Then things took a different turn, and through the advice of my mentors and my Gurudev, I moved into the temple as a full-time devotee. Recently, and I will be there for minimum 1 year, but maybe more. And I'm engaged by the temple management in services that are good for my nature. They are very kind. But at the same time, I feel now that I did this big change in my life, there's a dichotomy between all my plans for material success and now what I'm doing in temple. Suddenly I found I have a sense of spiritual success, but I also found myself that the previous plan of success that I had in mind is not working anymore. And I just thought I could ask for some advice for solving this dichotomy.
Thank you. That's a question that I feel very deeply because I made a similar experience. After finishing high school, I applied for university and I got a place in university. And at the same time, I met the devotees. I met them a little earlier, but I met the devotees who were on Sankirtan, traveling around Germany, distributing Prabhupada's books. And I remember I was sitting in the Sankirtan van in the car with which we were traveling around, and I would happily rip up my acceptance letter to university. Who needs this? I am a Hare Krishna now. Fast forward, I don't know, 10 years later, I'm applying to university, and I'm thinking, now I have professors that are younger than me. What I have done with my life, I've wasted 10 years for my material career. I'm starting so late now. And it took me a few years to understand that all these experiences I have made are immensely valuable because they teach me so much in life that if I'm able to take those experiences and use them for my spiritual advancement, they are never negative, they're always positive. So making those experiences now, postponing some path that you had set out for yourself to a little bit later in the future. Right now you might think, oh, I'm missing out on something. But you don't know what you're learning right now will give you, it might give you so much more in a few years because you're approaching the next step in life with a completely different vision. And that is, I think, very important when we do get advice and counsel from our spiritual mentors, our spiritual masters. They often have a very different vision for our lives than we have because they are looking at our life from a different perspective. You know, we are seeing everything from ground zero. I'm right here and I can see maybe this far. But somebody who sits up there, he can see much further down the line. He has a very different perspective. And that's why sometimes we do get advice that for us seems strange or hard to relate to or nonsensical even. And we might follow it because of a sense of duty or commitment, and we might then, while we are following that down that path, at some point feel regret. And that's why it is always good to ask questions and to give feedback. If your relationship with your counselors and your mentors permits that, to say, I don't understand the advice you're giving me. Why are you advising this to me? It's, again, be real. Have a conversation. Say, I'm very grateful for what you're advising me and I would like to do it, but I can't see it yet from where I am right now. Please give me your perspective so I understand why you think this is good for me. So you can do what they advise you to do with more conviction. And know that nothing in life is for nothing. You know, the things that you do right now, you're engaged in the temple, you do something there, you live in the ashram, those are life experiences that you don't get anywhere else. And maybe now is the time to get them, because who knows, in 10 years, 5 years down the line, you might not have the opportunity to gather those experiences, but they will be the foundation for everything else you do later in life. It might work out the other way just as well. You don't know that now, but do what you do full-heartedly. And if you have doubts about it, talk to the people who advise you and try to understand their perspective so you have a clearer picture of why it is what you're doing. No, but know that all the things that you experience now, you can build on them, and they can be an amazing foundation for what you do later in life. I personally came to that point at some point. I entered the job market and I had to create a how do you call this, an Arbeitszeugnis, like
CV.
My CV, and I was looking at my brahmachari and sankirtan career and thinking, how can I put this in terms that the world out there understands and appreciates? And it wasn't actually very difficult, because the things that I learned in that, they're of great value to the world around me also. And the things that I'm able to do in my work nowadays, they greatly because of the things I did back then. So this doubt I had for a while that I wasted 10 years of my life in the temple and as a brahmachari, all this, and I missed out, everybody is ahead of me. That was complete nonsense, you know. It was a completely wrong vision of things. It's actually the opposite. Those things gave me perspective and knowledge and understanding and experience that is maybe unique compared to other people. So just do what it is that you're doing now, do that full-heartedly and get the most out of it.
Thank you so much. That was a very beautiful answer.
Kṛṣṇa. Yes.
Hare Krishna, thank
Hare Krishna.
you very much for your class. I've heard that you have been 7 years temple president of Berlin. So I wanted to ask you, what were the times where it was really good and what were the really bad times? And how was the experience of being a temple president and running the temple for 7
Oh,
years?
how much time do we have? I think you're all hungry, so I keep it short. Well, actually, those two things, they are very, very close to each other. I try to give it a little bit more of a spiritual perspective. The hardest times were doing what I was doing for the temple, not understanding what it is that I'm doing. Meaning, we had an Nrsimha Chaturasi festival here, and we had maybe 60 or 70 guests. And it was a wonderful festival. And the moment prasadam was served, everybody disappeared. Everybody ate their plate and was gone. And there was me and maybe 2 or 3 other devotees left at 9:30 in the evening on a weekday who had to clean the temple. And I got angry. And I was thinking, I can't do this anymore. This is too much. This is too hard. I have to get up in the morning and go to work. And everybody just enjoyed the party and then took off. But then while I was washing the pots with those other 2 devotees, we were reflecting on the program, on the kirtan, on the festival. We were talking about Lord Nrsimhadev, and it became so ecstatic and joyful that yes, physically it was very exhausting and taxing, but it was also very, very fulfilling. And when I came home that night, late that night, I was very blissful and very happy. So, in those 7 years, there were moments that were very difficult. Corona was a very difficult time. The lockdown was a difficult time. I had to make choices which I believed back then, and I still believe now, were the right choices, by not permitting programs, by asking devotees to not come to the temple. And I had to accept their criticism, and I had to accept their not understanding my decision. But at the same time, I was praying to Kṛṣṇa, please let me do what I think is right, and let me protect the devotees, let me protect their health. So that was difficult, but at the same time it gave me a lot of strength and fulfillment, because I felt like, okay, this is something that I need to do. And then we used those crazy times and became a little creative. I don't know if any of you remember, we did an online Ratha Yatra. We couldn't have Ratha Yatra on the street because nobody was permitted to assemble in the street. So we teamed up with Soho Street Temple and Zurich Temple, and who else was there? Radhadesh, I think. And we did a 6-hour online Ratha Yatra festival where devotees came together in those temples, and they did kirtan, they shared Jagannath Leela, they shared how Jagannath deities came to the temples. And I was a little frustrated because only, I think, 50 people were watching live online. But then a few weeks later, Mangala told me that those video recordings have tens of thousands of views. And I was like, wow, this was great. This was wonderful. And we used our creativity. We thought, what it is that we can do. Other things we started then, I think they're still going on right now, like chanting online together in the morning. This came out of that time as well. Or reading Kṛṣṇa book together online, those kind of things. So what's difficult and what's amazing, they're very close together. It depends on your mentality, on your mood. You can have the greatest festival here. Everybody can be in ecstasy, and you can be completely miserable because your mind, your heart is just not in the right place. And you can be here all by yourself. You can be, Shumit mentioned in the beginning, the pujari, the cook, the lecturer, and the dishwasher all in one, and you are completely joyful. You come home, your back hurts, your feet hurt, your head hurts, you just want to sleep, but you are ecstatic because you embraced the opportunity to serve, and you did it. And you did it for Kṛṣṇa and for the devotees. So, and you can do all the same things externally and be completely miserable because you just think, oh, me. Why is nobody here for me? I want to enjoy. No, it's not about you. So, those 7 years were a great adventure, I want to say, and I'm super grateful for this time because it taught me a lot and it gave me the opportunity to do the service that I enjoy doing, to be very honest. I always enjoyed organizing, and Kṛṣṇa always put me in the spot to organize something. Before we came to Berlin, we were living in Göteborg, and we were there to run the Govinda's restaurant, and within a few weeks we were also running the temple program and organizing it, because people were doing it before they gave up. Before that, as a young brahmacharya, I was put in a position to organize the Sankirtan in West Germany. I didn't ask for that. I was 19 years old. I had no idea what I was doing. But my mentor, Mangalananda, whom some of you might know, he said, "You do it. Just do it. You are in charge now." I said, "But I'm here for a year. Well, how can I be in charge?" "Well, you can do it. You do it." So when I felt the need here in Berlin to do something, what I found maybe most inspiring and most touching, and I think still what moves me the most, is to see the kind of community that came out of that. There was a strong community in the previous temple in Hohenschönhausen, and for some reason that dissipated into different parts of Germany. And then when we started this place here, a new community formed. Some people stayed behind from like Kunja Bihari. He's the pillar of the Berlin Yatra, I want to say, since the late 80s. He'll be here for many more decades, I'm sure. But Berlin naturally is such a place of coming and going. There's always movement. But for some reason, Jagannath attracted some devotees to come here and do this project for him that was so beautiful to see, that there was this intense desire to do something for the community. Preaching wasn't the first focus we had in the beginning. We felt we have to build up the community again. We have to have a place where devotees can come together, and out of that something will grow. And to see now that happened, that is very satisfying, and I'm very, very grateful to be part of that, because I don't know most of you, and that's the beautiful thing, because that means that you all became attracted to come here at some point or another, and you decided, let's come again and again. And you were somewhere else before, but now you're here. So this place serves this purpose, I believe.
Thank you very much.
Kṛṣṇa.
How did you get the temple? Like, how did you find out that there was this place for Jagannath?
I believe you had a program sometime last year, which was the anniversary of Lord Jagannath here in Berlin, and I believe there's a YouTube video of all the talks that were there with the details. So I don't want to get into too much detail, but it was just putting your nose to the ground. We were just going online through the, what was it, Immo Scout and all this, and yeah, Kishori. Yeah, and in the end they wanted us.
Yes, we were searching for a way, and it was always low, you're too loud. I have like a mic phobia, so so before we had this place for some years, there were 2.5 years of organizing Sunday feasts all over Berlin. We were renting all kinds of weird, not so weird places.
Or doing it in the park.
Yeah, actually one summer it was completely in the park, and we were desperately looking at, everyone was like, Kirtan? No. We are searching for some, because we were trying to sell ourselves as yoga, something meditation, and nobody wanted to have like loud programs. But the owners, when they changed here, they wanted us. Remember when we were doing Kirtan tests, and they're like, no, everything is fine, noise level is fine. We wanted you, and this was really a big sign.
Thank you. And maybe adding to this, we were not just sitting around and hoping that Kṛṣṇa would present us this place. We did a lot of effort. We looked at so many places. We were driving around town. We were online. I was going to the land registry at least once a week, and somebody would say, "Hey, I saw a building over there, and that's empty." And I would go to the land registry, and for a few euros, you can find out who the owner is of any building. So I would write to them, and usually I wouldn't get a reply, or sometimes it was like, "No, I'm not interested in renting or selling or whatever." So we put so much effort in there, and with every time you find a place, you start to think, "Oh, we could do it like this, and there we could do that, and here the temple room could be, and this could be renovated in that way." So you're emotionally attached immediately, and you start meditating, just to then hear, "No, thank you." Oh, it's heavy, and then knowing, okay, let's again carry everything down from the third floor of Hridaya Gauranga's apartment, the deities in a basket and the boxes of stuff, into the park, and sit there and hope it's not going to start raining so we can have Sunday feast. It wears you down a little bit, but at the same time, you keep going and you keep going, and in the end, that's part of it. If we want to achieve something, anything in this world, also for Kṛṣṇa, we have to put in the effort. It's not going to come just by itself by wishing and hoping for it. Yes, please.
Maybe a follow-up question to that. You said you have been a devotee from 19 years, Prabhuji. So what has been your constant motivation to be in Kṛṣṇa consciousness?
My constant motivation. Well, I mentioned I met the devotees when I was young. It doesn't mean I was a devotee or am a devotee. My motivation to stick around, it changed a little bit over the years. And I come from a very boring, normal German family. And as a teenager, I met the devotees when I was 16, 15. It was my way of rebelling. Shaving my head, putting on incense, listening to kirtan in my room. Oh, my parents were freaking out. I loved it. Basically, I'm not going to do what I want to do now in front of the deities, but it was my way of giving this gesture to the world. I don't belong to any of this anymore. I'm spiritual now. Exactly what Kṛṣṇa says, you shouldn't do. Fanatically preaching vegetarianism to all my friends and losing them in the process. In my high school yearbook it said, "You used to be fun until you became a Hare Krishna." And I loved it. Yes, exactly. Screw you. So that was my immediate motivation in the beginning. I wanted to be a revolutionary without having the heart of a revolutionary. So I could hide behind a movement. I could hide behind lyrics of bands, Hare Krishna bands, who would sing about the spiritual revolution. 108 is singing about the spiritual revolution. Each moment without you I die, O Kṛṣṇa. Yes, exactly. Still don't feel that. I didn't feel it then, but yes, exactly. That's what I was subscribing to. Then by Krishna's unbelievable kindness, I met my spiritual master, and things changed a little bit. A little bit. I then became a brahmachari and was distributing books again to start the spiritual revolution out in the streets. Until I realized that I can't keep that up. It's not real. So I started to think, okay, what else can I do? And ultimately, what stayed with me and what motivates me to be around the devotees are the devotees. As frustrating as it can be sometimes to organize devotees, it's the most beautiful thing to be around devotees, because they are people that you don't find them anywhere else. Yes, actually no. Let me qualify that statement. The spiritual people amongst the devotees, just like the spiritual people elsewhere in the world, they have a quality that just is so beautiful that I want to be around that. So that's what motivates me, to be around the devotees. Hare Krishna. And to do a little bit of revolution. at some point I thought I should do the revolution within the Hare Krishna movement. That's why I grew this thing here and was fighting for giving lectures on the Vyasa-san in jeans and t-shirt. You may know that as Krishna West. I subscribe to that still, but I don't feel the strong need to convince others. But yeah, a little bit of revolution is good sometimes to shake things up, I think. Thank you. Why the revolution is good? What do you mean why I do it? Why I wear a dhoti today? Because I subscribe to the norm. I'm a sucker. Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much for the wonderful lecture. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the lecture. Yeah, I have one kind of a personal question, me being like working almost like 9 to 5, on the desk in front of laptop, working mostly on softwares or something like. So how can I, like you said that whatever we are doing it, we need to do for the pleasure of Lord Krishna. So how can we do that for the pleasure of Lord Krishna? So that still being in the front of laptop with full of material in the laptop, we still be in the Krishna consciousness.
Thank you. This is such a fundamental and such an important question. And I asked the exact same question to my Guru Maharaj a few years ago. I have to, when I'm at work, I have to give attention to my work. And I can't have kirtan running because I have business contacts coming in the room, and I'm on the phone all day, and I'm on my email all day, and having meetings all day. So how can I do that for Krishna? And he said, well, you do what you have to do, but you do that for Krishna. And I was like, I don't understand. And it's something that I'm still chewing on, but I slowly understand that us being who we are, being alive, dealing with life, doing our work, taking care of our family, all these things, we can do them in two ways. We can do them mindlessly, or we can do them mindfully. Mindfully in a way that when we get up in the morning, we can think, I'm a devotee of Krishna, and today I'm going to be a devotee of Krishna. So when I'm at work, I'm as a devotee at work. I'm doing my duty, I'm fulfilling my duties, I'm doing the things that I have to do, but I do them as a devotee. I'm not doing them for myself only. I'm not doing them so somebody will come and say, oh, you're the best, or just to count the money on the bank at the end of the month. But I'm doing this with the mentality, I'm a devotee of Krishna. And then whenever I get a break in between, I can pray, I can chant, I can do practical things, what we discussed, whenever possible. But it's more of a mindset. Am I a materialist who comes to the temple on Saturday? Or am I a spiritualist who goes to the office every day? So we can try to develop that mindset, and we can fortify and strengthen that mindset through our spiritual practice in the morning, before we go to work, after we come home from work, make good choices to help stay in that consciousness, stay in that motivation. But then again, while we do what we have to do, we have to give it our attention. Do you think Arjuna, when he was on the battlefield, he was thinking of something else and shooting the arrows to kill the enemy? No. He was focused on killing the enemy, shooting the arrow perfectly. But he at the same time, he was a devotee and performing this duty, being a devotee. So it's a bit vague, I know. I don't have a better answer yet. That's what I've been trying to think about and work on for the past few years. But otherwise, we will always be stuck in this dichotomy. Like, this is my material life and this is my spiritual life. And then basically what happens at some point, we just become pious religious people. And for many that's good and wonderful. If that's what you want and that's what makes you happy, it's great. And at least you're a pious religious person. But for many of us who follow Srila Prabhupada and who want to serve Krishna, we want a little bit more than just be pious and religious. We want Krishna not just be one segment in our life. You can divide your life up into pizza or into a cake and cut different pieces out of it. Here's my family piece, and here's my work piece, and here's my fun time enjoyment piece, and here's my whatever piece, and here's my spiritual piece. And today I take a little bit of that, and tomorrow I take a little bit of that. No, but then you're always in between, basically, in life. You're nothing fully and nothing really. Again, it comes back to this topic of today. Do what we do as a devotee. And we have to do our work well. Otherwise we're in trouble. So
one more question. Sometimes it happens like, okay, it's almost like maybe at 10 o'clock, like 10 a.m. or something, having a meeting, and like I'm still at 9 o'clock and not finish my chanting, so I have to start my day at 9, so should I proceed more, or like, is that a good way of doing it to the correct, or it is not so correct?
Well, in the end you have to see what works for you. If you have the liberty to be the master of your schedule, you can chant until 12 and move all your meetings to 12:30. Good, good for you. If that's not possible, you have to see how you can organize your day in a different way. And then again, as householders, as grihastas, we do sometimes have a different rhythm than people who live in the ashram. And we sometimes think I have to live a life like a monk while being at home and taking care of my family and working, meaning get up at 4, chant all my rounds, do all kinds of things, and then go 8-9 hours to work, and then take care of my children, and then go shopping, and then clean the house, and then I drop dead. Well, when we look at Prabhupada, how was Prabhupada doing his spiritual duties? Yes, he did some seva in the morning, and then he was chanting a few rounds, and then after work he was chanting some rounds, and in the evening he was chanting some rounds while he was a grihasta. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the same thing. It's different times in the day they did their spiritual practice. So they organize themselves to stay balanced. If you're not balanced, you burn out. You flame out at some point. So you have to find out for yourself what is realistic for you and how you can stay in balance. And if our work dictates a certain schedule to all of us. I mean, very few people have the liberty to be completely free in their schedule. So we have to see how we can arrange the things that are also important to us to not interfere and to give us enough time and energy to stay in balance. And in the end, there is flexibility, there is room to make that work for you. Kṛṣṇa will not look at you and think, oh, it's 10 p.m. in the evening, you're still chanting your rounds, I don't accept these. Or oh, you only chanted 6 rounds before, now you continue, I don't accept these. No. Kṛṣṇa is happy with anything you do and everything you do.
Thank you so much.
If there are no other questions, I also have a question, and it's a selfish desire, and one of the reasons why I accepted the invitation today. I wanted to be in front of all of you to ask your blessings. We are about to move from Berlin to our new home in Latvia and start a new chapter in life, which we believe is best for us, and I would like to ask all of your blessings that we can stay in the service of Lord Jagannath. There's also Lord Jagannath in Riga where we are moving, and there's a temple with Lord Gonitai and a wonderful devotee community. So if you so desire, please give us your blessings that we can maintain or remain in the service of the devotees and of Lord Kṛṣṇa, of Lord Jagannath, and try to also do something positive over there. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai!
HG Sadashiva Prabhuji ki Jai!